Hey, my name is Dennis. I'm the repair guy today. And what's exciting is I have a JVC, a GYDV. This is specifically a 550. These are great cameras, actually. I don't know. I would like someone to tell me a camera that's equally as good as this. It's got great color. It's a 4x3, so it's not HD, which is important. For instance, if you're shooting film or something like that. It's got the shutter, which makes it very valuable. The colors are rich and nice. So trying to preserve some. I got a bunch of these, and a lot of them are broken. They have bad pixels, and I will show you the service menu and how to help eliminate some of those pixels, but there's limitations. Because the camera's onboard memory is low, you can only save so many of those pixels. Eventually, the pixel war will be lost. So with this camera right here, it's got bad power on it. I can't even tell if anything's working because I can't even get it to power. So I'm going to take this in a couple different steps. And the first step is we're going to disassemble and look for an obvious problem. This would be a bad connection, a cold solder joint, something that's obvious and clear. Beyond that, this is printed circuit board. I'm not a bench tech, and if I was, they're difficult to repair and expensive, and oftentimes they don't end up being repaired and just ends up being a long exercise in futility. So that's objective A, to see without too much trouble if we can get it to power. Then the next objective, we'll see if we can recover some parts. I got some other cameras. On one of them I'd like to test, but I can't get to the service menu. I don't know if it's a bad switch or what up front here, but I want to get into this section to see if there's a subboard or a removable switch or some insights as to why I can't get these buttons to work on one of the other cameras, so I can get that better. Same thing with the DV connector. If I could get that DV connector out of there, I could possibly have build the camera. Because this one possibly has a good DV connector, but this I don't know either because it can't power. And the gold would be if I can test and or remove this. This is the aperture. Anyway, the CCD is probably what we're calling that. And that's it. So we don't want to damage this. And I want to learn how to reinstall it if I'm going to do that. So that's it. Let's get to it. Okay, so here we are right away. This is our first access to power. The power comes in off this connector, runs up here, and here we have the wires that connect. I do notice this isn't connected. Where is that supposed to go to? Oh. Let's I mean, just following basically power, you can see it come in there. Power is normally signified by red and black wires, so we're just kind of following that to see if we see anything. If you are in a repair tech, see, I can smell that already. It's a burnt capacitor. We'll follow through, but when you smell it, you notice there's a kind of a burnt, electronic smell to it. That's a pretty good sign you blew a capacitor. Capacitors can be replaced, but it's beyond me most of the time, especially at these micro board levels. And finding the proper one is tricky. So it ends up to be time consuming, expensive. Again, anything obvious, anything we can just learn from it, like, oh, well, that's cool, but I don't see anything not connected. Same thing inside. There we would say we can take off this back part now. So if we know that the power isn't working, it takes a lot of pressure off, because at that point we're really not trying to save the shell in any way. We're really not trying to reassemble this in any way at this point. We're going to follow through, and still just be careful here, but that's actually a good thing, you know. In. So, okay, that's the first level. There's multiple layers of these circuit boards.
So you can just smell it and it's...
I think it's in this section that there's a bad capacitor. So I still don't notice anything other than that. It's nice being able to do it without having to worry about putting it back together. You still don't want to break the parts, because you're going to use those possibly on other things, but at least you don't have to worry about where the screws go, which is the biggest problem. I don't have the patience to remember that. I guess that's why I'm not a bench tech. These are ribbon connectors right here. Just so you know, you release them by
pulling it out.
a little quick release. Just let that out, and it'll just come out real easily. And this is a Phoenix connector, or a multi-plug. And we'll leave that for now. So this is the DV carriage. Well, that comes out easily. If I ever did want to record and use this assembly, at least it comes out easily, but you need to get a hold of a bunch of stuff to get there. So, but a lot of them do have that. But then again, I don't really care. I usually don't record to the DV. Okay, so we're inside the camera. What were we doing? We wanted to see the back here to see if we could get that DV thing out. Alright, so there's the DV, the onboard DV connector and the circuit board. Again, I don't even know if this works. So that's sad. We weren't able to figure the power part out. So that just leaves us with, can we even access that? Is it realistic to think that I could replace it? Okay, well, we really didn't have any business in this section, but it is interesting to see. Okay, so there's our switches there, and here's the back side of the switches. So it's just this circuit board, and then they're mounted right to that. But we're not using them. Everything these days is just a series of micronized electronics. It's all looks the same. It's the same circuit board. It's the same capacitors. It used to be things were made with tubes and were created in a way that you could access and replace. But these days, it's all, you know, it really couldn't be this compact. I mean, it's all engineered very nicely. But it just couldn't be any other way and still be useful. Sometimes convenience wins out. Alright, well, actually, it's possible if I came in from the back side. It really wasn't that hard now that I realize that this plate alone, if I just remove that one plate, then I'll be able to get in here and get access. It's only these couple screws here and a couple plugs. So that aside, still connected, gives you access to this board. This is the one that contains the PC or the DV connector. So there's just a standoff nut here. See how easily that comes off. So, these two connectors, okay, well there it is, it's free. You could do it from the back side, and you'd really only have to reconnect these couple Phoenix connectors. So there's the possibility that this DV is working and could possibly be used, but again, it's untested. So, okay, so that was part of it. We got the DV connector out. We're still looking at the CCD in there. This looks like a whole assembly. Okay, and then these are the connections. So here's how you access the service menu on one of these JVC cameras. You push this switch right here towards the skin area and the auto white up. Press and hold those like that while you're powering it. You can power it at the switch on the side or at the box or the power plug, either way. So once you do that and you power, it'll automatically go into the service menu. In the service menu, you can access your blemish correction or your pixel correction. That'll work a lot of the times, but the onboard memory is limited on these. So eventually it can't remember anymore. The way that works is it basically takes the pixel next to the bright one, the dead one, or white pixel. Those are all words you might use. Next to it, and then puts it over the dead one. So that's how that works. So looking at that switch, I was telling you about the other camera I had, I believe. Looking at that switch, it's mounted on that circuit board. But it's possible by taking it out, I can look closer at the switch and understand it so that maybe I could do something to the other one, like, well, just understand it sometimes is enough. Okay, wow. This whole assembly comes off like this, including the front connector. Pretty accessible, actually. So you just get these screws out. There's really only 1, 2, 4 screws holding this whole front section in. So you take out those 4 screws, and then the whole front will come off. Okay, very good. And then the only thing connecting this entire front piece is these 2 ribbons. That's good news. So you should take the front ribbon off at this circuit board here, being careful not to mess with ruin the connectors. It's very sensitive. So don't just pull it. You gotta pull up on this little piece here to let it loose, and then once you do that, it just comes out very easily. And then this one's got a different apparatus for release, but it's the same idea. And off it goes. Oops, that was the wrong one. So it goes all the way back here. All the way back here. Okay, well that's important to note. But I can take it off here, so I can release this up at the front end, and it won't have to go all the way through. So there we are. It's all there. So that's a success. Yeah, it's possible that this entire piece could be replaced. And but is it possible that this can be replaced without this, or vice versa? Yeah, this could be replaced easy enough. This, let's see, we would have to take these screws off right here. And once we did that, yeah, it's pretty integrated, isn't it? But it looks like it's possible. It's pretty intuitive so far. I'm not gonna take it off yet, at least for this video. Maybe I'll come back and add that piece in later. But it's all one assembly right now, and that seems valuable to me. So we're gonna keep this piece now. We know nothing about it. We don't know it's working, but it's possible we could use it. And then we're gonna dispose of this stuff. The plastic pieces can go in the trash if you want. You know, if you really cared, you could try and recover some connectors and stuff like that. But I don't care. Circuit boards should be disposed of in electronics recycling. There is dangerous lead and things like that. It should be disassembled and done properly. If you work at a commercial place, you usually end up paying per pound. You got to look up that if you're a commercial business and handle it that way. Otherwise, usually, at least in our area, we have electronics recycling, and they'll take any of this stuff and destroy it properly. All right, so that was the disc repair, the JVC GYDV550 in this case, but the 500, 5000 series, they're all pretty much the same thing as far, just minor differences, but as far as the assembly. What we got and learned is that we weren't able to restore the power. It's probably a bad able to get this out. We don't know if it works, but we got it out, and foreseeably we could reinstall that into a different camera. And we were able to take out this entire front assembly with just 4 screws and 2 ribbons. So that makes it repairable. After all that, I still don't know if this section is working. I don't know if there's a white pixels, and knowing the history of this camera, most likely there is. So beyond upgrading the firmware or EEPROM, is really nothing I can do. But that concludes that, and we had access to the service menu, and I showed you how to get into the service menu to do some professional repairs that should help. So good luck. Check out some of my other videos. Press subscribe or like. Share it. Have a great day.